Hello everyone, and welcome back to more Scratches, the director's cut. Now it's the start of Monday morning. We're in our bedroom here. And I think what we should do is just take a look at our notes. I believe this entry was the last one we read, so I'm going to start from here. Like I thought, neither Jerry nor the electrician will be able to come today. This new turn in my life is getting more and more complicated by the minute. I will survive, but deep inside I'm becoming truly concerned. I have opened the safe. I certainly wasn't expecting a treasure, but its contents were far from spectacular. Just a contract for the construction of the house and a key. It looks like there's a hidden room on the second floor, on the second level of the house, unless the blueprints are wrong. I can't imagine any reason for it, but it's really there. The hidden room does exist, but I won't be able to get inside the door. It's been completely bricked off. I have to find another way. I may be insane, but at least I managed to get inside the room. I don't think I understand yet that I had just risked my life. One wrong step, and it would have been fatal. Yeah, here he's talking about when he rappelled down the side of the house to get to that bedroom. It turns out the hidden room belonged to the son of the Blackwood family. I still can't tell why it was bricked off, but I should try and see if he's still around. He may be the only one that can tell me what happened inside this house. I guess that deep inside myself I knew there was a reason why, but I had to make sure. Blackwood's son died a long time ago, which is probably the reason why the room was bricked up and left abandoned. The thing that is not clear is whether the child was born dead or died shortly after delivery. As it turns out, there really was a door behind the exhibitor in the gallery. I probably subconsciously noticed the frame yesterday and then dreamt about it. I can't think of any other reasonable explanation. The hidden door in the gallery led to a small storeroom. There was a strange mask inside and more mementos belonging to James Blackwood. The development of his story is almost getting to me now. I can almost feel his suffering, and that mask seems to be the key to the mystery. I just wrote a few notes, a few words for my new book, but I'm far from satisfied. It sounded too much like cheap writing. What's worse, I realized that all this time I was working, I was in reality thinking about the Blackwood mystery. I guess I'm done for the day. The many adventures I have had left me very tired, so I'll be heading to bed earlier today. I have a premonition though. I think that tomorrow will be the day I make great progress resolving the Blackwood mystery. I just know it. Well, that day is today, and well, he's not that far off. There's no point to it. I just can't do it. I can't write. At least not until I solve the mystery of the Blackwood Manor. Again, the scratching sounds. What could possibly be causing them? I better hurry up and look into this before they stop. Have I just seen a vision? A product of being tired? After all, I'm bound to expect strange occurrences whilst wandering at midnight through a decrepit old house. The cold sweat on my forehead has brought me to my senses. I know it was very real. I may be insane. I should probably race out of the house and never return. But I just want to go back to bed. I need to sleep, clear my mind a little bit. Perhaps I'm too tired to realize that I'm not alone in this place. Another day inside the Blackwood Manor. Fortunately, the rain has stopped. Somehow, I feel renewed with energy. It's like the past night was just a bad dream. I'm almost doubting it ever happened, but still, I feel strangely optimistic. I have to keep going. Well, at this point, what new do we have to go on? Well, we got these two keys. Is it this one? The silver key was rather generic looking. Yeah, we got that. Now, I happen to know where that key goes to. But first things first is we'll go downstairs and I think we'll try calling Barbara and Jerry. It was incredibly cold inside the house now. Well, let's see if we can do something to warm the house up. I decided that it was a good time to make use of that wood. The wood was now burning nicely in the fireplace. No, we don't need to use anything else. No pokers or anything, though. Okay, let's see what Jerry has to say.
Who is it?
It's me.
The ghost hunter. Any contact with the other world yet?
Well,
Actually,
kind of.
I'm not sure. Jerry, I'm definitely not alone in this house.
What are you talking about?
Last night I saw something down below. It was moving. I wasn't dreaming, and I'm not making this up.
Are you sure it wasn't a mutant rat?
Definitely no rat.
I'm calling the police.
No, not just yet.
Michael, for Christ's sake. You could have a burglar inside the house.
This is no burglar, Jerry. It's much more interesting than that. And I want to figure this out by myself.
Have you taken leave of your senses?
Just promise me you won't call anyone. I can do this on my own.
It's such a bad idea.
Just call me if you need any help. I'm driving there today.
Right. Bye.
Now, let's see if Barbara ever got that Italian letter. She was going to take Monday off. I'm supposed to call her at some point, though, to get that letter translated. Maybe she mails it to us. I'm not sure. In fact, why don't we go check out the mailbox? Nope, empty. There's no way I could open it with my bare hands. Well, what if you had a key? A strong smell of aged oil was infecting the barn-like garage. So we got an old car over here, some wheels, an axe. Should take that axe. Or the pitchfork. And a bicycle. Now that may have been hard for you to make out, but the light up here turned on when we started pedaling it. There was an old and dusty bicycle in the garage. It seemed to have some sort of device attached to it. The odd device was attached to the rear wheel. So that's a little way to generate some electricity. A small crate was near the bicycle. In fact, I'm pretty sure we can use that to generate power for our car battery. Although, I may be thinking a little too far ahead of the game. But a crowbar is nice. One classy and old automobile. Still, I didn't want to get very close to it as it gave me the strange feeling that something was about to jump at me from inside. Now, thankfully, I don't think anything does jump out of there. No scissor mans or anything. All the various items laying on the table. Only the toolbox on the far left seemed to have a few useful things. Make sure that's correct. There's a screwdriver in there. I think that's it. No, I'm wrong. There are a pair of pliers in there. I wonder if I should do something about the car myself, but I decided to give Jerry a chance. Okay, so we got a crowbar, we got a screwdriver, we got pliers. I'm trying to think where we can use all of those. Massive double doors leading to the interior of the chapel were locked. Now, I don't think any of these keys are what we need. Almost succeeded, but in spite of my efforts, the door wouldn't budge. It was hopeless. The rust wouldn't allow this door to be opened. What if we oiled it? There we go. A thick mist struck me in the eyes as I entered the barren greenhouse, and the smell of long-dried plants and dirt permeated the air. Now, there's something sparkling down there. There was some kind of shiny object beneath the grating. Whatever it was, there was no way I could reach it. Well, maybe not yet. An imposing but dead tree adorned the center of the greenhouse. Yeah, sadly, most of the things in here are very dead. A huge pot containing a bush had fallen on the drain. Several pots were scattered here and there, a few pathetic plants in them. Well, they're dead, what can they do? The upper walkway was livelier than the below due to several plants that had somehow managed to subsist on it. Yeah, a couple of the plants survived. The branches of the huge tree made walking in the upper walkway very difficult. Now, there are some goodies to grab up here. An old fumigator. The watering can was of no use to me, as I had no plans to try reviving any of these plants. The bag had ripped, spreading dirt all over the table. February 7th. As much as I had regretted it, I decided to stop caring for the greenhouse. All my efforts to save the plants have been in vain. I just can't seem to figure out what is wrong with them. It has been a few weeks since they began falling apart to pieces, dying without any apparent cause. Some of them would just crumble at the slightest touch. This is not only frustrating, but very unsettling. Every time I enter the place, I can feel a sense of dread and decay. What I most regret is the condition of that rare plant I brought from South Africa. It is now all sad-looking and almost dried up. I will take it upstairs and look after it, hoping it will get more sunlight. Assuming that everything that has been happening has a natural explanation. Death is surrounding this place, and I can't seem to do anything about it, in spite of my concerns. I can't help thinking that all this began when I brought that... I wonder... No, I have to put those thoughts aside. I should stop reading all those sinister books. They're getting under my skin. I see a pair of pruning shears here, but I don't think we can grab those. Could have sworn that we had to, though. No, we have to grab those huge ones. The top of the plant on top of the table was strangely attractive. Yeah, that one's actually in good shape. Several pots were scattered here and there. A few had pathetic plants in them. Oh, and there's the hose. A large hose was laying on the walkway. There's a shovel. There was a shovel in the planter, but it was stuck in the soil. But we're not going to get that shovel out unless we can figure out a way to loosen up the soil. We're going to do that with the hose. But if you remember, the water isn't running yet. See, there's the hose. Apparently the water wasn't running. Alright, so we'll have to come back when we can get the water running. Now, am I supposed to use the shears on you? There we go. I removed a few branches and leaves, clearing that corner of the drain. So now the drain is no longer blocked up. No, that's the tree. I actually want to start going back to the house. Now, do you remember in the kitchen there was a back door? Yeah, that back door led out to the backyard, and there was a crypt back there. We couldn't get in it. I would need some tools to get into the crypt. Well, what about these pliers? There we go. In fact, I think we took the wires, yeah. There's a piece of wire that had been holding the doors to the crypt. Alright. I couldn't imagine what the purpose of the grating on the floor was. Obviously, nobody down there was in need of fresh air. Several candle holders were attached to the walls, but alas, there were no candles in the vicinity. Yeah, even out here there are no candles. The guy just can't catch a break. No. Do you want to open it? Oh, doggies are getting noisy. Uh-oh. I seriously considered what I was about to do, but my curiosity got the better of me. A corpse in advanced stages of decomposition was inside the coffin. It was disgusting. Whoever it was, I could sense a feeling of terror in its dead face. The body had been resting for several years until my disturbance. I decided to leave it alone. And this one is empty. Curiously enough, This coffin was completely empty. According to the plaques, both Mr. and Ms. Blackwood had died in the same year. Yeah, but only one of those coffins has a body in it. So maybe we should check what's happening downstairs. There were several coffins in this room, probably belonging to the most important ancestors of the family. Like, that one does say Blackwood. I barely managed to read something about a rap person that died in the line of duty. That one's a little harder to make out. Fogelson? And this one's open a little bit. This coffin was half opened, and I was horrified to glimpse the remains of a dead cat in it. Strange. Seeing one dead body inside the crypt had been enough for me. Most of the plaques were too badly eroded to make out what they said. This one looks like it says Alfred B. Blackwood, 1802 to 1821, or maybe 71. I am definitely missing something. One of the coffins was considerably smaller than the rest. Even though it was better shaped than the rest, it was too dark to make out what the plaque read. Okay. There are some things we need that I did not find. I could have sworn it was up here. Where is it hiding? There's supposed to be a rock around here somewhere. The prospects of witnessing the decaying body of a baby wasn't very tempting. There it is. No, but I want to grab that stone. There we go. What we're going to do is we're going to use that stone to smash open the glass here and get more light down into the basement. Oh, I hurled the stone to the ceiling, but sadly it missed and bounced off the ceiling, flying out of sight. Great. Now we gotta find out where it went. Good, that was much easier. Alright, Michael, is your aim going to be better? There we go. Again, I hurled the stone at the window with all my strength. This time my aim was true. The glass collapsed, throwing shards in every direction. Thankfully, none of them hit me. Alright, the large windows in the dome allowed some faint light into the crypt. Nope, still not enough. We're going to need to be clever. After leaving the crypt, I stopped to think for a few seconds. I only found one body inside, but there were two plaques. Something was evidently out of place here. Now this may not be obvious to you, and it wasn't obvious to me, but it does make a little bit of sense when you think about it. There was a little mirror in here. Well, we're going to take it apart. We're going to bind the mirror with these wires. So now we have a wired mirror. If we use the wired mirror over here on, I think it's this, is it that one? Or is it up here? No point in attaching the mirror to that holder. There we go. Now the light is reflecting down into the basement. The inscription was too eroded, but I could make out the letter R on the far left. So it's not a lot to go on, but whatever the child's name was, it started with R. And we have some clues as to what that child's name is, but they're kind of subtle. You probably wouldn't have thought about it. That was back in the child's bedroom. We saw some blocks. And I think it was 3 of them that spelled out O-B-N. O-I-N? Yeah, O-I-N. No, I'm getting it wrong. I may have to go back to that room and check. But But if you remember in the last episode, we found blocks, and those blocks had letters and numbers attached to them. Well, I wrote down the letters and their corresponding numbers. So we know the kid's name starts with R, and the blocks gave us the hint that they end with the letters B-I-N. Okay, let's see. Jerry, do you have anything to say?
Yes?
Hi, Jerry.
Michael, I was worried about you. Are you doing okay?
Yes, I'm fine, and I think I know the identity of my intruder.
Tell me, who is it?
James Blackwood.
The Blackwood person? Michael, are you serious? That the ghost of the murderer is roaming the house?
I'm not talking about his ghost, Jerry. I'm talking about him.
What the heck do you mean?
I mean James Blackwood himself, alive in this house.
What? How is that possible?
It makes sense. After murdering his wife and realizing what he has done, he begs for help to Christopher Milton, who fakes his death.
Milton, the previous owner? Michael, you're losing your mind. Even if he managed to hide himself, how did he survive all this time? Milton has been missing for years.
Good point, but I'm sure a desperate man like Blackwood would have found a way.
Yes, by turning into a ghost. Wait a minute. Yeah, I have it right here. James Blackwood passed away on June 1963. Would you please stop this?
Jerry, just listen to me. I know I'm right. There's only Mrs. Blackwood's body in the crypt. His is missing.
Oh God, Michael. You've really gone out of your mind. Digging into coffins, what next? Desecrating the chapel?
Whatever it takes to solve this mystery. You can only find stories like this in books.
Precisely why I'm beginning to wonder about your sanity.
You'll see.
Alright, well, Michael thinks that James Blackwood is wandering around the house. But Jerry is like, no, he can't be. He died. And he gave us a date that he died on. Well, we're going to go check the newspapers and see if we can get any hints or clues about that. Alright, June 1963. The article wasn't as informative as I had hoped, but there was a phone number scribbled on the page. Yeah, there it is, Bailey. 01665-65217. Alright, now I've already written that down in my notes. Following the shocking news that became of public knowledge last week, we must now inform about the sinister outcome of the story that has been in the mind of every citizen of our town these past few days. Mr. James Blackwood has died at the age of 56 due to a heart attack, allegedly because of the pressure and stress caused by the astonishing accusations by Miss Eva Marini, former maid of the family. This puts a sudden end to the case deferred by the authorities. Police Chief William Bailey, see, that's the police chief's phone number, said, "It saddens me that Mr. Blackwood was never brought to a proper trial, no matter what kind of excuse could be possibly made. The death of Miss Catherine Blackwood was a fact. I'm fully convinced that he was guilty." Dr. Christopher Milton is said to be taking care of a funeral that nobody will attend, and all the belongings of the Blackwood family are now in his possession. Silently, Rothbury returns to daily life, turning the page over one of its darkest chapters. Many will wonder in the years to come what really happened inside Blackwood Manor. Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. Mail train robbery, over £1 million. A senior police spokesman said last night that the total haul in yesterday's mail train robbery was clearly well over £1 million. I'm assuming that's pounds, I could be wrong. More than 500,000 of it belonged to the National Provincial Bank. Alright, so we have another phone number to check out. But I think it was in the last episode we also got the phone number for the bank. So we're going to call the bank up and we're going to call the police chief. Since it's Monday, the bank should be open. Now these numbers we have to dial ourselves, and they're pretty long numbers, and this is a rotary phone, so it does take a little bit. 0, 1, 9, 1, 2, 9, 4, 1, 4, 4.
Good day, the National Bank of Northumberland. Robert Blake speaking.
Hello, Robert. I need some help.
Alright, let's ask about... let's ask about James Blackwood first.
It's about James Thomas Blackwood. Do you have a customer call back?
I'm sorry, sir. I can't give you that kind of information.
Alright, we're going to tell him we're Dr. Milton.
My name is Christopher Milton, a renowned doctor and good friend of the Blackwood family, and I demand some respect.
All right, sir. Please, just hold on for a few moments. Ah, yes. I have a customer listed as James Blackwood here.
Alright. We're not interested in construction during the 60s. We want to know about recent activities.
Good. I need to know about any recent banking activity in this account.
What kind of banking activity, sir?
Well, you tell me. Any withdrawals, payments?
Look, sir, I'm really sorry, but I can only give that information to Mr. Blackwood himself.
So that means the account is still active?
Well, yeah. It means I can't give you this information, sir. You said your name was...
I won't waste your time anymore. Good day.
Alright, so that old bank account is still active, and therefore still in use. But now we're going to call up the police chief. And that number is 0, 1, 6, 6, 5, 6, 5, 2, 1, and 7.
Who is this?
Hi, are you Mr. William Bailey?
That's me. And you are?
Yes, my name is Michael Arthate. I'm a journalist for a local newspaper in Rothbury.
I see. And what's this all about?
Well, you're the former police chief of this town, aren't you?
Indeed. I served many years ago.
And you were once in charge of a famous, or should I say, infamous case here?
Ah, bloody hell. Don't tell me this is about James Blackwood.
Well, yes, I'm writing a story for my newspaper. The most famous police cases of Northumberland.
Have you got any idea how many times I've talked about this? Go to your nearest library. I'm sure you'll find plenty of information about Blackwood there.
Please, Mr. Bailey, I beg you. It won't be the same if I can have the information from someone who was there, and no less than the renowned William Bailey of Rothbury.
All right, son, spare me the nonsense. What is it you want to know?
Well, in the first place, what did Ava Mariani see exactly?
She saw enough, son. James Blackwood was dragging a shape into a hole in the garden. At first, Mrs. Mariani couldn't realize what it was, but eventually she made out the dead body of Catherine Blackwood with a serious
And Blackwood was automatically deemed guilty?
He was found digging his wife's son.
Why did James Blackwood never appear before a jury?
When you're someone as renowned and famed as James Blackwood was, you can pretty much avoid the authorities. However, you can't avoid justice. And justice was brought upon James Blackwood.
Justice? How?
He died shortly after the accusation. You should know about that.
What happened to Dr. Christopher Milton?
How should I know? You bet your life that slimy worm was up to something. I couldn't prove it, though I spent years investigating him. A shame we couldn't implicate him as much as James Blackwood.
Are you saying he could have had something to do with the murder?
Blackwood and Milton were very intimate. Milton did the impossible to aid his friend, and even clear his name after he died. You do the math.
And was ever determined the cause of death of Catherine Blackwood?
Yes, partly. Mrs. Mariani managed to see her throat was slit open. Ripped, she would say. It must have been horrible for the poor girl.
Still, everything sounds so vague, as if something were missing.
Are you questioning my performance on this case, son?
No, sir, not at all. I'm just trying to figure this out. Like, why a proper autopsy was never done.
An autopsy to whom?
Please, sir, this is very important to me, and I could really use your help. I'm trying to fit all the pieces of this mystery together.
Mystery? What mystery? You must be one of those people that just love splitting hairs, don't you?
I don't think I understand, sir.
Listen, son, that cold-blooded bastard murdered his wife, God knows why. But he and his fancy doctor did the impossible to hamper our investigations. You don't have to be a brilliant detective to realize Blackwood did it.
There's always a reason behind a murder. Nobody has ever found out why Blackwood did what he did.
Psychopaths don't need any reasons. And James Blackwood turned into one, precisely.
There's got to be something else. I can't believe Blackwood flipped just like that one sunny day. It doesn't make any sense.
People flip, son. You could be flipping right now without knowing it.
Well, you know, he may be right.
Well, then tell me how Blackwood reacted when you pulled his wife from beneath the ground.
I beg your pardon.
I mean Catherine Blackwood's body when you dug in the garden of the manor.
Like I said, they hampered the investigation. We never managed to set one foot inside the manor. What kind of bloody journalist are you, son?
Oh. They never got a look at the
Are you
body.
telling you never actually retrieved the body?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Now, if you don't mind,
But wait, this doesn't make any sense.
stop wasting my time, damn it. I was enjoying my retirement until you had the brilliant idea of calling me. I don't want to hear anything else about this case ever again.
Please, Mr. Bailey, don't...
Leave me alone.
Well, that's all we can do right now as far as phone calls are concerned. What do you say we go into the basement, see if we can get the water running? Now, we came across something really unsettling down here last night. But we're not gonna go into the furnace. We wanna... There we go. Try as I might, I couldn't move the valve with my bare hands. So we're gonna use the crowbar here. Kind of work as a lever, I guess. Nah. I'm not going to just move it like that. We're going to use some force. Alright, there's no more need to fiddle with the valve. Well, that's right, the fuse box is in here. Darn electrician never came. Wonder if he'll be coming by today. If I did that right, the water should be running. The water was running, but there seemed to be a problem with the pipes. So before we go to the greenhouse, I'm going to check the mailbox again. Even though I was anxious to read the letter, I tried to remind myself that I should give a raise to my... I tried to remind myself that I should give a raise to my efficient assistant. Alright, now this is the translated Italian letter. Alright, April 28th, 1963. Dear Mother, I spent the whole morning running a few errands for the Blackwood family, and on the way back, many thoughts crossed my mind. I'm having trouble reading this, so if I make any mistakes, please forgive me. I take back what I said. I want to return home. Things haven't gotten any better here. Everyone is behaving mysteriously, and they try to avoid me. I do understand that they must still be... I'm not sure what that says. This something? Dismantled? Alright. There still must be something about the death of their son. But it had been almost 2 years since that already. I feel like an alien. I don't belong here anymore. And I kind of... And I find it hard to sleep at night. There's too much activity in this house, too much moving around, and that is unnerving me. I feel something terrible is going on here, and I want to go as far away as possible. I will miss Miss Blackwood dearly, as she has always been kind to me. But I'm afraid my health is at stake. I've been seeing some strange things too. I can't explain it, but I think someone did something very wrong. That Dr. Milton would often come to talk with the serf for many hours, and nobody would allow me upstairs. Although I've been secretly taking pictures there. I hope this doesn't upset you, but don't worry. There's one well hidden under a loose floorboard beneath my bedside table. Alright, now I remember trying to play with that in the first episode, but now that we've actually read about it, maybe we can go and look at it. Please, Mother, forgive me. I know I should have listened to you. It's not like I'm stubborn. I just wanted to... wait and see if things would get any better. Something for myself. They haven't, and that's why I'm asking for you. I'm asking you for a place to stay until I find out about my situation. Call me as soon as you can. I usually have to stay in town until 5 o'clock, but lately I've been coming back home about an hour earlier. I just want to leave this place. I confess that I am scared. I'll be waiting, and please hurry. With love, Eva. Alright, now for whatever reason, we're just going to leave that in there. So, the maid did it. No, the maid was hiding something in her bedroom. Yep, there we go. And there's a picture. And it's somebody burying something out in the garden. Now it looks like she took it from one of the windows, and we can see the shadow of part of the building pointing to where the digging was happening. We can't do any digging just yet. Well, that's because we don't have a shovel. We were working on that. We've almost figured out that problem. Now I, very foolishly, have not been checking the clock very often. And the clock can give us clues as to what time of the day it is. That's important. Well, because we saw the shadow in that picture. Okay, let's see if we can get the water running. Now we're also going to get the water running through the grate here. Because the water is going to wash out that shiny thing. Now, I thought we would have to do this later, but I think we can do it now. If I take these big pruning shears... Yep, we get a few of those strange leaves. I had taken a few leaves and fruits from that from that strange African plant. They have a very particular smell. Now, hopefully we got this wet enough that we can take the shovel. Nope. Maybe we have to pull it out while the water is running. There we go. And we're just going to turn the water off. And I wonder if that's going to have an effect later in the game. Oh. Whatever it was, there was no way I could reach it. You should have gotten washed out. Did I do something wrong here? now it's gone. Already took care of you. I wonder if maybe it was a time thing. I had to keep the faucet running long enough. Because the drain actually washes out over here. And we just found the small key. Now, we're not leaving this area just yet. Because it was around here that the deed was done. Now, we may have to dig several times. It may be too early, actually. Yeah, what time is it? It's 12 p.m. I don't think it's that drawer. I think it's over here. March 21st, 1963. Dear Catherine, first of all, I beg you to take the utmost care in order to keep this letter away from James. I don't like to think of the mental breakdown he would suffer if he reads this. You know James much better than I do, so you must share my conviction that he'd never harm anything. But, even so, I'd ask you to be careful whenever he's around, at least until we sort out this situation. He has been especially unstable lately, speaking about his determination to suppress this so-called curse. I truly fear for him and his sanity, but I still wouldn't say he qualifies as dangerous, but just in case, be cautious. I've been playing the role of an ally who believes in James, and so far, I think I've done a good job convincing him. But I'm afraid it won't last for much longer. I can't do all the things he's now asking me. He has been delving into some obscure arts, and what began as a hobby has now become a dangerous obsession. He wants me to perform an African ritual on that awful mask he brought. He's convinced that he has released an ancient spirit which will harm everything he loves and cares for. It's all so utterly insane that I'm ashamed to translate this into words. My biggest fear is that I will end up losing my own mind along with his. I have to put an end to all of this. And about that other issue, you should know I've gotten over it. Catherine, what we did 2 years ago, the decision we made and knew it would affect the course of our lives, has been haunting my sleep ever since then. But you know, you must be the one more affected by this. But you wouldn't understand that all has been going through my head. The confusion, the contradictions. Now more than ever, I'm not sure whether it was the right decision or not. But there's no turning back, and we must now face the consequences. All I've wanted to say about this is that I'm deeply sorry that I behaved erratically these past days and unnerved you. You have my word that I won't ever reveal anything. Whatever you do with this letter, make sure James doesn't feel any suspicions. Whatever you do with this letter, make sure James doesn't feel anything suspicious. I'd rather have you destroy this, though. Extreme situations require extreme measures. Christopher. Oh, so Christopher and Catherine were up to something a few years ago. 29520. Now, there's a number on this lock, and I don't know exactly what the clues are for us to figure out what the right numbers are here. Now, I do know that we saw some numbers back on those blocks, and those are the numbers we need to know. What we want to do is we want to use the numbers that correlate to the name of their son. And their son's name, well, it ends up being that it's Robin. So if we look back at the blocks, I'm not going all the way back to the nursery. I've already written down what the answer is here. We want to change to 5, 9, 0, 9, 7. And we've got to play around with this box a little bit. Okay, we switch that. Is it that one? That one? A little hard to see what I'm doing here. There we go. See, there was a kind of weird locking mechanism down here. Right, there's some money, but more importantly, there's a key. The key was heavily adorned. Nope, still no shadow. Wait, there's a little bit of a shadow, but I still think we might be too early. Nope. That's alright, we'll come back a little later. We're going to the chapel because we have the chapel key. The lock produced a loud noise that had echoed in the quietness of the area. It made me wonder about the secrets that have been kept safe and undisturbed in here for years. Not even inside the chapel did I perceive a peaceful environment. The deadly stillness was deeply unnerving. And there's a set of stairs right here. Light switch, but yeah, that's probably not working. Now, we could go up here and look at the altar, but we actually want to go upstairs first. I think it's in here. The cabinet on the small loft contained items that seemed to belong to a priest. I wasn't done looking in there. The Holy Bible. And look. Some sort of spike or nail was hiding in there. No, we're done. I thought we were done. The game doesn't want us to be done. Stop that. Now we're going to go up here to the altar and look around. The chalice was lavish and pleasing to the eye, but sadly of no use to me. The countermints inside the chapel, though mostly gold and shiny, looked sad and fragile. At this point, I wasn't going to bother with the light switches anymore. We can still look at the artwork here. Now that's Christ carrying his cross. Was that supposed to be the Shroud of Turin? I wonder if I can look at all these paintings. Now, I've played through this game a handful of times, but I don't remember ever looking at these paintings up on the walls here. Now, it doesn't make much of a difference in the game, but I figure I should at least try to show you guys as much of it as I can. We have here some kind of metal ring. Yeah, we read that already. A large wooden statue of Christ looking after this holy place. The statue had a noticeable orifice in the bottom. I've always wondered what the INRI means. Well, that's because we're going to drive this spike through Christ's ankles. There's a nail inserted in the hole now. And that came loose. Something was curiously different about the INRI sign now. Alright. I knew I had to do something with that. I'm going to use the crowbar to reach up there and move it. No? Kind of small metal ring. Now we're getting somewhere. did it right. Now that the statue has leaned forward, it has moved open the passageway here. We're going to go down and see what's happening. Now, of course, there's no power down here. Don't be silly. It was nearly impossible to discern anything in the secret room, but that seemed to be a candle. Yes, after all this time, finally, a candle. Most of the books scattered in the hidden room were about occultism and African culture. Even their titles were disturbing. Okay, some weird stick. Some notes. March 26th. The folklore of the Damar is just as disturbing as their vicious attacks. If my researches have been correct, then I could have stumbled upon one of their most ancient tribes ever known to humanity. Dating back to the era when the so-called Bushmen inhabited South Africa. We're talking over 20,000 years ago. How could any civilization manage to survive all this time without ever hunting or expanding? Just being there. I dare to imagine what 200 centuries of inbreeding and cannibalism can do to people. I've seen them, and they can't be called humans. What is most unsettling is their mystical background, impossible to be considered a religion due to its complete lack of basic rules and maturity. The only simple premise is to keep an evil entity at bay, which has been stalking them since the beginning of time, or Dark Ages. At this point in my research, I had to stop and consider the implications. The Damar actually thought of their later period systematic slaughter of mankind as good times or golden ages. I thank the Lord that this tribe never managed to grow, as I seriously think the region, maybe even the entire continent, would have suffered terrible consequences. This history is so ancient that it makes me feel dizzy. The vengeful god, which is incidentally referred to as Dolorn, would control the Damar via its many incarnations. Most of the time, it would be a tall, feline-like figure, always dwelling in shadows and slaying any villager who would unwillingly come close. Some say its deadly claws would not only penetrate your body, but your soul. The purpose of the harassment is unclear. It would look as if the Damar were simple toys to play with. It seems that the Damar managed to free themselves from its clutches with the help of an amulet or charm, which would effectively force the entity to retreat. The most curious thing is how this amulet was conceived. The two main elements were required to perform the exorcising of this evil, and they had to be strictly related to each other, one representing the victim, the other representing the victimizer. To achieve this, something related to each one was used. While I'm not sure what is referred to as the victim, I think it could be concluded that anything belonging to any villager would have served, given that they were all victims. As for something representing the victimizer, that may have been more complicated. What could possibly be related to a god, this god in question? Next, these elements had to be mixed with a rare medicinal plant native to the region, which had properties to blend both items together, as long as they were not too solid. Finally, a branch of a particular tree whose name now had to be used as a holder, whose name escapes me, now had to be used as the holder of the blended items. It is on this item that a mysterious blessing was performed. It should be noted that all elements had to be organic. Okay, that's important right there, organic. Couldn't be like minerals or metals or anything like that. The Damar released themselves with the controls of the vicious god, with an intense ritual that seems to have been taken days to perform. In the end, the amulet was so powerful that the entity surrendered to their will and offered divine powers in exchange for sacrifices. But the Damar weren't allowed to be fooled. They decided that getting rid of this evil once and for all would be the wisest thing to do. So they managed to capture its spirit and store it someplace they could guard it for ages to come. My God, the evil was cast into a mask, trapped inside the confines of its blessed wood for eternity. A match which its description bears uncanny resemblance to. Who am I fooling? It is that mask. The Dalmar would keep the spirit at bay via regular rituals involving the bloody sacrifices and this aforementioned amulet. The last book I read today about the Damar, in reality 2 smaller as amusing bonuses in reading a book lent by the museum, had revealed to me something that left me completely paralyzed with terror. I always wondered since I began studying them what made the Damar savagely slaughter neighboring tribes without any apparent reason. Was it a violent, raw instinct? Did I feel threatened anyway? Was it a perverse and ungodly sense of enjoyment? No. It was fear. Fear that someone else would take the mask and release the god they killed to protect themselves from falling again into the Dark Ages. If they went to such extreme lengths to avoid this, what did they have to endure when the entity was free? The rituals haven't been performed on the mask for years now. What have I done? What have I done? I was shocked to learn about this evil. Terrible as it was, I still wondered to what extent James Blackwood went to get rid of the curse. Is that anything we can take? Yes. April 5th, 1963. Christopher. These may very well be my last notes in this regard. I'm afraid Catherine has already realized what I've been doing here all this time. In vain, I tried to explain myself, and I know what might have been the outcome had I kept insisting. If you could only believe me, Christopher, because I know you intend well, but I can feel doubt in your heart. Put your rational thoughts aside for a moment and yield to the facts. If I can do it, someone who has constantly taught in wonders of science ever since his childhood, then so can you. I'm hoping that you will contemplate the possibility of some truth in my assessments once you read about my latest findings. It is imperative that you carry on with this task. Catherine is watching my every step, and I'm afraid she'll take strong measures if I do anything out of the ordinary. Did you know she's been talking to other doctors besides you, and psychiatrists? My God, Christopher, I fear that she's willing to shut me up in a madhouse. How is it possible that all of you won't believe me? As if what happened with my own son wasn't enough proof. In my adjacent notes you will find an exhaustive essay on the origins of the curse and what should be done to eliminate it. I know the whole amulet deal must sound crazy, but you have to trust me. The tribe has been doing this for centuries. Are you going to forfeit all that knowledge and experience? They faced a god, Christopher, and they lived to tell it. Now it's our turn to live and tell the story. And Christopher, if we fail to remove the curse and anything happens to me, I want you to do this. And I have my complete mental facilities whilst I'm asking you this. It has become more and more dangerous lately. Do not hesitate. There's simply no other way, and you would be the only one left who can do it. Promise me you will. I know I'm asking you to become a cold-hearted murderer, but Christopher, our lives, and possibly many others, are at stake. Isn't that enough to forget your vow? James. Alright, so there is some sort of terrible curse. Strange titles such as De Verimis Mysteries gave me the shivers. Much as I love books, I didn't even dare open those. Weird looking little mask here on the wall. Alright, so there's a curse on this house. And that's all because of that mask. So, might be a good idea. Might be a good idea to see about getting out of here. No, I don't think it's time to start digging yet. Okay, let's tell Jerry about everything that just happened.
Yes?
Jerry, it's me.
Michael, I was about to call you.
Why?
I've been thinking about what you told me, and you could be onto something there. But I'm worried about your safety now. This could be dangerous.
What do you mean by dangerous?
Well, let's suppose you're right, and James Blackwood is indeed hiding somewhere inside the house. He's a madman, a murderer, and your life could be in danger.
Jerry, if James Blackwood is still alive, he'd be nothing more than a harmless, decrepit old man. I don't think I'd have any problem outdoing him.
And what if he is armed?
I'm willing to take that risk. He surely knows I'm here by now. What if he's waiting for me to leave so that he can escape? I can't miss this opportunity.
The opportunity of what, for Christ's sake?
Of knowing. I'm already too much into this, Jerry. And if I don't know what happened inside this house, I won't be able to sleep again.
You're obsessed. You were supposed to finish your book, get some rest, and now look at this. What are you going to say to your editor?
Who knows? Maybe this whole episode inspires me to write that ending. I'm sorry. I can't leave this now, Jerry. It's too late.
I can't believe this. I don't understand you. Doesn't the possibility of spending another night in that house with a creepy old man hiding in the basement scare you?
I know what you're trying to do. Goodbye, Jerry.
Michael? Michael! It's dangerous, do you hear me? Dangerous! You have to leave that place!
I'll keep you informed.
So, maybe Jerry's not coming to pick us up? But he definitely wants us out of here. Oh, there's another something in here. A notice of eviction. Dear Michael Arthate, due to irregularities during its acquisition process carried over by Mr. Jerry P. Carter, you are to immediately leave the property known as Blackwood Manor. If you fail to comply, legal proceedings will be enforced against you. You have 2 days to effectively abandon the property after the issuing of this notice. We take no responsibility for the courier services. A police officer is due to arrive on the Blackwood Manor on Tuesday, October 15th. Should you be present, you will be immediately taken into custody without further notification. So that was the reason Jerry wanted me to leave the house so badly. I bitterly realized that he wouldn't come for me. That it was up to me to find a way to leave the house. Well, we're going to have to do something about our car then. We need to get some power. So we already know that we can get an electrical charge this bike up here. Let me see if I remember how to do this. Alright. Now, it may be a little hard to see, but it does look like we have wires attached to the battery. No, put that back. And what about one more time for good measure? As I prepared myself to leave the manor, I suddenly felt responsible for disturbing the forces that had up to now laid dormant inside the house. I had to do something. Yeah, good job, Michael. You can leave now, but you want to sit here and play Ghostbuster. Okay, am I going the right way? No. Now we're getting somewhere. The shadow of the house. You see that tower right there? Sort of gives us an idea of where to dig. I want to try to dig as close to the tip. And I may or may not get it right the first try. Yeah. I was equally terrified and saddened upon uncovering the dead body of Catherine Blackwood. All those years, she was left to rot in this improvised tomb. The corpse was all contorted and rotten beyond recognition. What horrified me most was the aspect of its teeth leaping out at disturbing angles. You can see we actually kind of grabbed something. I tried to pull out a tooth without success. Well, if we're going to take one of those teeth, and well, we kind of need to, doing my best to contain my repulsion, I pulled out a tooth from the body. Poor Miss Blackwood. She seemed to be silently shouting at me, or rather crying. Alright, well, we're gonna cover that body back up. Now it's getting pretty dark out. Probably took a while. So remember that note said we need to find an item of the victim? Well, that was her. But what about the victimizer? Well, that's a little tougher. But if you remember, they said that the god was like some sort of horrible feline that used its claws to tear at the very soul of people. Something that looked like a lion's claw was firmly attached to a necklace. Now, is this going to work? Yep. Now, we need to mix them all together with these plants, but we can't do it. They're in too solid of a state. Alright, now, I don't know if this is for sure or not, because I usually try to get through this part quickly. But I think we might have a time limit before something terrible happens to us. So I'm going to try to be quick about this. We're going to use this coffee grind. We're going to ground the tooth and the claw. Okay, we only do them one at a time, though. Now we have the ground up tooth. Mix those together, and mix them together with the berries. But that's not enough. You need to melt them down. Well, we've been working on that since pretty much the very first episode. There's a little stove up in the attic. What's in this room? And our last match. You hear that? Like some heavy breathing, maybe some whispering. I attached the stone to the branch and immediately felt a strange sensation. The amulet seemed to be vibrating. I was ready. Oh. Yeah, I can hear that. Some cruel laughter. Let's go confront that mask. I waved the amulet in front of the mask, and then... At first, nothing seemed to happen, but the atmosphere felt lighter, as if the house had been relieved of a monstrous burden. Nothing else seemed to happen. Alright, it's all done. Phew. Well, I would say we should go to our room and pack up all our stuff. And then just leave. But I don't think we can actually do that. I don't think we can take our suitcase or anything. I don't even think we can take our typewriter. I had to leave this place as soon as possible. Now, for my sake, I'm going to save now. But we are going to get out of here. I stood there, paralyzed in terror, as I heard those horrible noises again. They just wouldn't stop. The scratching noises are back. And there, in the bottom of the fireplace, is a secret passage. I went down the fireplace. I couldn't shake the feeling of entering a forbidden zone. A place that had been, or was supposed to remain, forgotten in time. The passage was full of junk. Pipes rusted long ago were everywhere. There's a door over there. The only noticeable feature of the room was a filthy and cracked sink. The furnace of the basement was on the other side of this wall. So this hole in the wall was what we found when we crawled into the furnace. Which means we saw somebody or something by this door. I remembered being soaking wet and shaking in fear. Yet I had to go on, as if driven by an unseen force. remnants of food on the table. Someone or something had been eating down here. Some fresh water was dripping from a pipe. A disgusting teddy bear, covered in mud and dirt, was laying on the ground. It appeared to be bites that had ripped its neck. Suddenly, the words of William Bailey concerning the body of Catherine Blackwood echoed in my mind. Ripped, she would say. Traces of raw meat. It appeared as if they had been dropped through the grating. Yeah, we remember reading about them purchasing a lot of raw meat. Oh, there's something in there. It's not just anything. Yeah, and with that, Michael got out of town.
Unsure of what I had just seen, I raced my car and left Blackwood Manor as quickly as possible. I'm not ashamed of what I did. That disfigured face is still stalking my nightmares, and I've never put foot inside a Victorian house ever since. But there's certainly one thing that I'm grateful for. It was thanks to my encounter below that house that I was able to finish my book and become a prolific writer.
All right. So it's not over yet. I actually get a view of something happening back at the manor. And for whatever reason, I remember in the original version of the game that I was controlling this. That I had to keep pressing forward and forward. And we see that what was ever down in that basement has dug its way out. Okay. So that was Scratches, the director's cut for the PC. Now, like I mentioned in the very first episode, I had purchased the original version of this game, and it wasn't until a few years later that I found out about the director's cut, and I only recently got my hands on it. I'm actually a pretty big fan of adventure games, and I especially am a fan of horror-themed films and literature and stuff like that. So of course I wanted to check this out, and it was tough to get through this. I don't think I made it through first time without a walkthrough or a guide. Even though I do remember I was playing this with one of my younger cousins who loves video games just about as much as I do, and whenever they would come and visit, we would play these games together. And you know, some of them like more the action games, some of them want to try out the horror games, some of them like playing the PC games more than the console games and so forth. But somehow, the two of us were able to get through this together. It took a while, probably playing it, you know, an hour or two together, a couple of times during the week. So I have a lot of fond memories of playing that with them. And I'm hoping that they're watching this playthrough and remembering those fond memories of us playing this together, and that the way we were both shocked when we first saw the mask, and the way we felt all unnerved finding that person down in the basement. And I think at this point it should be fairly obvious who that person was. But if you didn't quite piece it together, well, that's what the next chapter is for. One last visit. And I think we'll make that a special bonus video. But I hope you enjoyed watching me go through this game. And I hope you'll go out and give it a shot yourself. You may need... Oh. So that door was left open. But what difference does that make? We know that what was ever down there dug its way out. So, I don't think Scratches did all that well. Well, apparently it did well enough to warrant a director's cut. So finding physical copies of it probably isn't too hard. And I don't think there's a high demand for this game. So it's not exactly a collector's item or anything, so it shouldn't be too expensive to get. At one point, it was available on Good Old Games. I don't think at the time of this video it was anymore. But in the future, who knows, it may show up again on, say, on Steam or on Good Old Games. But I liked this, I hope you enjoyed it as well, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.